So welcome to my final part of my series exploring the politics of the gaming community. Now before you watch this part, maybe consider watching the first part on TheQuartering or the second part on the ActMan. I feel it's important in showing certain arguments and narratives that permeate through the gaming community online, but you don't have to watch those things before this part. But this one will be focusing on Angry Joe, and I will go into detail on what my problems are with him, but I want to get out of the way that Angry Joe seems like a generally good guy. His politics are generally good. He supports things like Bernie Sanders. He doesn't like Donald Trump. And he's quite vocal about it on Twitter. I don't have much problems with him as a person, but I want to use this video to highlight how that when people like TheQuartering and the ActMan say certain things, it does sort of have a knock-on effect on people like Angry Joe, who often parrot similar narratives despite not being politically the same as the other two. So let's get into the video. So we've looked at two gaming YouTubers, let's go for a third. Now I've made videos about Angry Joe in the past. He actually seems like a pretty good guy. He has pretty good politics. He gets loads of crap on Twitter when he backs Bernie Sanders. He's always attacking Donald Trump. He doesn't care. And I appreciate that he doesn't care. He gets into fights with TheQuartering, in fact. But the purpose of showing clips from his videos is to show that even someone like that, who is more left-leaning, is still susceptible to parroting a lot of the talking points you have seen in TheQuartering's and the ActMan's videos. Now the first clip I'm going to show you is Angry Joe and his friends talking about the controversy around Cyberpunk, in which art in the game, I guess, depicted trans people in a not very tasteful way, in a lot of people's opinions. Now of course CD Projekt Red had come under fire from making a trans joke on Twitter. So keep that in mind, that people don't necessarily trust this company to be tasteful with anything to do with trans issues. But Angry Joe uses this as an opportunity to launch into some sort of rant about social justice warriors.
I am so tired of fucking outrage culture. And you know what? I guess it's taken me this long to see it. But it's fucking sad to see, and it's really, you know, when people who don't deserve to be targeted are targeted, and then you see right through the people who are doing the targeting, you see how transparent their bullshit is, and how they are either virtue signaling or completely ignorant or reaching for reasons. And then there's also the transphobic thing, where it's one of the pictures has a trans person, and there's a big fucking dick. There's a big old fat, huge dick, right? And the person, and I read, the artist has a lot of artwork, and this artist loves the body. Doesn't matter if it's male, female, trans, squirrels, doesn't matter. They love the body, and so when artists draw, you know, this one's not French, but you know French, you know, you just draw things. You draw things. You know, put the beauty out there, but you do put that out there in some way, and then somebody thinks it's offensive on behalf of somebody else.
Well,
and it breaks my heart, because it is primarily in what you label it as social justice warriors that are out of control. And you know, from my perspective, social justice is not a negative thing. It wasn't a negative thing until it's being co-opted by vapid morons who fucking, you know, complain about every little goddamn letter in the fucking word in order to take that T is offensive. Because the cross moved too far up and Jesus died on the... They'll just come up with whatever, and I'm getting
that's exactly
sick
right,
of it.
yeah.
I'm getting sick of it, and that's why I didn't want to really even cover this story, because I don't want to
it got you heated, I see that.
Fucking people... For a game that deserves, you know, praise, that is doing things right. This is a company that is a paragon of good gaming, and you have gamers who have political fucking motivations, or really... I think it's the veneer of political motivation is just self-motivated to get attention to them and their side and their clique.
So again, what Angry Joe has said there is pretty similar to what the ActMan has said, pretty similar to what TheQuartering has said, that people who are advocating for social justice, they don't actually care about social justice, they just care about making a name for themselves, getting clicks. Now, like I've said, people being concerned about CD Projekt Red representing trans people in a negative way after the company's Twitter account made a trans joke is perfectly justified. Now again, whether you agree with what CD Projekt Red did with this artwork is pretty irrelevant. if you really care about social justice, like Joe seems to suggest he does, then you'd be like, okay guys, I understand why you'd be concerned. CD Projekt Red don't have a great history of this stuff, but in my opinion, it's X, Y, and Z. And that's perfectly fine. We can have a difference of opinion here. But the way you frame it is that SJWs, they don't care about this stuff really. They just want to make a name for themselves. Again, it's damaging to the conversation, and it just plays into these narratives that anyone pushing for diversity or social change in things like gaming have an agenda, and they just want to put their politics everywhere. Not that they care that gaming should better reflect general society. So one final clip with Angry Joe is on a recent news show where a trans Twitch streamer said that a lot of gamers are white supremacists. A lot of gamers, not all gamers, but a significant amount of them. So let's take a look at his panel's reaction.
And then some of the other things that she said makes no fucking sense. Like white supremacists.
A lot of
gamers are white supremacists.
It's like, what the fucking, okay.
Wait,
all right.
Isn't this a gaming platform? So you're basically calling all of us white supremacists? Every gamer a white supremacist? Me?
So a lot of them.
I don't give a... No, not a lot of them. Why does she get to characterize...
I'm saying that's what the quote is, right?
Exactly.
So not most.
So
she said a lot.
I think there's certain people who maybe shouldn't be holding that kind of power.
Agreed.
Including her. I actually think that she should be removed from the Twitch council.
So they seem to be pretty oblivious that it is a massive thing that much of the alt-right is made up of members of the gaming community. That is just a factual thing. It's not an opinion. You don't have to think most gamers are neo-Nazis or part of the alt-right to admit that a lot of gamers and a lot of the alt-right are made up of gamers. And again, it's not anything too extreme, but just shows how these narratives that the gaming community like to feed themselves, whether they are on the more extreme side or whether they're on the more progressive side, just permeates through all of it. And it is super, super damaging as a whole in terms of how toxic the community is, but also, like I was saying, how susceptible a lot of the members are to being pulled further right and eventually being pulled into being a neo-Nazi or part of the alt-right. So you've seen the various clips from various different gaming YouTubers, but to summarise everything is that these narratives about SJWs and diversity and feminism is pretty out of touch with reality. Basically boils down to you're the problem if you bring it up, and every SJW is actually motivated by some sort of pursuit of fame, wanting to draw attention to themselves. They don't actually care about the issues. And most of these gamers see themselves as pretty tolerant people, but it's clear through their language they aren't. Now, why is this mindset dangerous? Now, like I've mentioned with the Angry Joe stuff, it makes a lot of these people susceptible to alt-right arguments. So, like the ActMan actually points out pretty well, a lot of the online gaming community in the West is young white men. Young white men online are the primary targets for the recruitment from the alt-right. Now, gaming has become a more universal thing. Pretty much everyone games these days, whether it's on your phone or console. In the UK, gaming is absolutely massive. Most boys play either FIFA or Call of Duty. A lot of girls have PS4s as well, and of course both sexes have Nintendo Switches. But the internet is still dominated by Americans. Gamers are still dominated by white people in America as well. And gaming is still a refuge for those that society, I guess, shuns, people having a hard time. And now more than ever, people are grouping up in online communities. And this is how this ideology about, SJWs and feminism can really spread so quickly. And in my opinion, things like the internet have been instrumental to white nationalism and everything gaining so much more prominence over the years because they can communicate and coordinate way more effectively. But when you have millions of young men who might not have the best lives socially, having these gaming YouTubers mix in these ideological politics that is anti-feminist, anti-progressive, anti-diverse, it really sticks in their head, and it is dangerous for a lot of young people. And I would be scared if I had a son at this time, because you can't really separate the politics from the gaming stuff at this point. As ironic as that sounds, for people who say get politics out of my games, they stick the politics in all of their commentary. Like I said, even Angry Joe is guilty of it, ActMan is guilty of it, TheQuartering effectively makes his living off sticking his own politics into video game coverage. And while a lot of them are capitalising on outrage culture, capitalising on the anger people feel to consumerism, to, I guess, capitalism in some ways in regard to the games industry, they make it way more toxic by incorporating all these anti-progressive elements. Now, someone like Jim Sterling effectively weaponizes nerd outrage at corporations and channels it into something good by using that to highlight how broken our economic system is. That is a far better use of gaming YouTubers' time than taking nerd anger and weaponizing it against the most vulnerable groups and the most underrepresented, based on a real lack of evidence as well. So that is everything. Thank you for sticking through this 3-part series if you have. I enjoyed making this one. It wasn't meant to be 3 parts, it was actually meant to be 1 video, but it really got too far, and I thought people might not watch all of them in one go, so maybe I'd space them out. And I know a lot of you have liked my videos on these types of people before, so I thought, you know, if you want to maybe watch part 1 and part 2 but not part 3, or part 1 and part 3, you can chop and change and you don't have to sit through stuff you're not interested in. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. If you're on social media, please follow me at TheQuartering on Twitter, that is the main one, but also on Facebook and Instagram. Reddit is another big one for me, so my subreddit is r/TheQuartering, my personal Reddit is u/TommyCahill1995. Please check out my Reddit and my WordPress in the description. And if you made it this far, thank you for watching.